And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have a special episode where we're gonna be talking about the Strait of Hormuz. Today I have with me here Lieutenant Colonel Amit Yagur, who served as a naval officer, a high-ranking naval officer in the IDF Navy, including few very, very fascinating roles that he had in that service. Here, I got this right now over here. Joining me today is Lieutenant Colonel Reserves Amit Yagur, a former naval intelligence officer in the IDF. He served as the head of the northern branch, overseeing Syria, Hezbollah, and Lebanon, was a senior member of the strategic planning division for the Middle East, including Iran. He also served as a deputy head of the Palestinian planning arena with the IDF. Amit brings years of high-level operational and strategic experience across some of the most complex fronts in the region. And without further ado, we're going to be jumping today and we're going to talk about, will America send boots on the ground into Iran? What is happening with the Hormuz passage that everybody is talking about? Why is it driving whole the world crazy? And later on, we're going to dive into other topics, including Lebanon, Syria, and what is coming in between. We also have here our favorite shepherd from the mountains of Israel, Mr. Khalifa. How are you, Khalifa?
Good evening, Hebrews and Shebrews. Well, excited and happy as always meeting you, and happy Eid for all those mothers today. It's Mother's Day in the Arab world. So to all the mothers, thank you for your doing. You're awesome, each in her own way.
That's true. Amen. And without further ado, we're going to jump in right now and talk to our esteemed guest here, Lieutenant Colonel Reserves Amit Yagur. I'm assuming that you are in Israel, right?
Yes, I'm in Israel. Hey, good evening.
Good evening. And how are things right now in Israel? We're hearing that people are running to the bomb shelters every second chance. So just to make sure that you're fine, how are things going?
Everything is fine in Israel. Look, I hate to say it, but we are already used to it, to this kind of awkward routine. In the northern of Israel, everyone sleeps and sits inside shelters during the day, because over there, the alarm isn't enough. The time of the alarm isn't enough for you to go underground, so you sleep over there. And in the mainland of Israel, center of Israel, southern of Israel, this is a routine. You do what you do. You go to work and everything, but you are close to a shelter, just to be ready in case missiles will be there will be a missile attack against Israel.
But today we had an impact in Dimona area. Do you think that's kind of a message from the Iranian regime?
Look, the Iranian regime showed the capabilities. When they want to shoot directly, they know how to shoot. We saw it in Haifa. We saw it today in Dimona. There are a lot of messages that they want to send. Diego Garcia, of course, is some kind of a message. So they send messages all the way. The question we should ask is whether this message sent is an outcome of pressure inside the Iranian regime, or it's some kind of a message that says, hey, we can continue. I don't know what's the answer for that right now. I assume that it's composed of both. There is a pressure over there. I know that there is a pressure, but there was also a message that say, okay, we can continue if we would like. The facts, by the way, show quite the opposite, because let's say the stamina of Iran, the capability to prolong the war as much as they want, is not so high as they want to show us.
Well, we
Okay.
heard that. If I may, for a second, Mansour,
Yeah.
let me have this one. because I'm extremely, excited about having this conversation. I've been talking to Amit for the longest time, and he came from the naval intelligence, and talking about the Strait of Hormuz is a very, very interesting topic. So the way I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lieutenant Colonel, that ground invasion, it's a matter of when, not if, yes or no. And the only question is the matter of the scale. So take us through the Strait of Hormuz, why it's like a nightmare from the point of view of the US and Israel, and what, if you had an advice for the allies, for that matter, could be your advice, or what do you think is coming next?
Look, basically, we are talking about two wars that happen together in a parallel way. The one is the military war, which the US and Israel is conducting right now against military capabilities, mainly military capabilities, in order to take from the Iranian regime its, let's say, offensive capabilities to threaten the area, to threaten the US, to threaten Israel, and so on. This is the first war. The second war is the war that the Iranian regime is conducting. It's not a military one. It's conducted by military means, but it's not a military one. The logic of the Iranian regime is basically focused on the energy. And the energy around us is supposed to say, okay, I know that I don't have the military capability to confront Israel and the US, so I will use military means in order to confront them in other arena. The arena is the energy arena. It's another scale, and my purpose is to cause an energy large-scale problem around the world that should, let's say, drive the US to close the war. That's the idea. That's the logic. And the Iranian regime, as it sees it, it can prolong the war for some time more in order to achieve this goal. How do you achieve it? First of all, you attack all of the Arab states along the Persian Gulf, mainly citizens, mainly let's say infrastructure that is in context of oil, context of gas, what we saw in Qatar in the previous days. That's one thing. The other thing is the Hormuz Strait, what we are going to talk about. The Hormuz Strait, basically, it's the main choking point of the Iranian regime that says, okay, if you want to conduct a war with me, you can do it militarily. I will do it in military means, but in order to block the energy system around the world, and my best physical point, geographical point to do it is the most narrow point is the Strait of Hormuz. How do you blockade straits? Of course, you can see, we spoke about it during the war, it's not a physical blockade. Most of the Iranian Navy was actually damaged, attacked and damaged during this war. The United States made it very clear that this Navy, the Iranian Navy, cannot operate anymore. So it's not a physical blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. It's a blockade that is being conducted by missiles, explosive boats, the very, very simple boats, but with explosives on board, very fast ones, by the way, and mines that you can put along the inside the water in depth, in order once a ship comes to this area, it can be exploded. That's the main three items or main three degrees that the Iranian regime can do the blockade with them. So it's mainly affecting let's say, insurance companies, maritime insurance companies, and mainly the public opinion. What is the damage that can be done to me if I try to cross the straits? In the previous weeks, we saw some, let's say, about 6 to 7 attacks, between 6 to 7 and to 15, I reckon, attacks on ships in the Persian Gulf. Ships, harbors from the Iranian side, of course, they attacked ships, oil ships, and so on. Now, you want to do this energy. Trump understood, the US government understood, and by the way, anyone that says that this was not expected and it came in as a surprise, it's not a surprise. It's a scenario that was being brought in mind a long time before the war, and I believe that the US is very ready to deal with the Strait of Hormuz. It wasn't to be dealt with on the first stage. You need to take some military capabilities out of Iran to attack them, and right now it becomes the stage that the US is going to take care of this matter. What do I mean by taking care?
Okay, sorry.
Yes, Mansour?
No, I wanted to ask why do we hear so much in the news right now? America is asking for all of Europe to come and help and join them, and Europe is hesitating. Why do they need help with the Strait of Hormuz? Isn't that enough for Israel and America to handle it, or is it bigger than we think?
I'll answer that. Let's speak about the logic first. The main logic of the US is to drive the war back to its position, to its military position, and to take it out, to take the energy out of the war. Well, what's the meaning of it? The meaning of it is to take the very heart of the Iranian strategy in this war, to take control over it, and to take, the sting, the bee sting of this war from the Iranian regime, and take it back to the military aspect only. How do you do it? You take control of the Strait of Hormuz. How do you take control of the Strait of Hormuz? First of all, it's a problem. You have to say, right now there are Iranian military soldiers that are stationed on board of the islands along the Gulf of Hormuz. You can show my picture over there. And in my picture, you can see that the map I sent you earlier, the map shows the different islands that are existing along the way. And on board each and every island, there are Iranian troops that their job right now is to make sure that the ships, they want them or allow them to take to go through the Hormuz Straits, will go nearby those islands. The troops identify them by eye, and then they will continue to their destination. That's the system right now. Now, when you want to deal with it, to take out this choking point out of the Iranian hands, you have to do it in both ways. First of all, and the US started to do it in the last between 3 to 4 days, it's to, let's say, to attack each and every point in the Iranian shore. You can see it in the map, up in the map, in the that along there is an Iranian shore that is very lengthy along the Strait of Hormuz. Over there, you have to take care in each and every point or harbor or just a point when you can attack by shore-to-sea missiles over there, or by sending boats, or sending even UAVs to explode on ships that goes over there. That's the first thing.
They are experts in it.
Yeah, there are experts in it. This is the asymmetric warfare. I remind you that the Iranian Navy it doesn't exist right now, which means they have to take other measures in order to achieve their goals. The other measures are, as we said, UAVs, fast boats, fast exploding with explosives, and shore-to-sea missiles. Now the US has to take care in each and every point in the Iranian shore. And the other thing they have to do is to take care of the Iranian troops that are stationed on board along the islands, along the Straits. Now, on the way from the US right now, there are some between 3 to 4 amphibious ships, and you can see. You can show the pictures I sent you earlier. What do we mean by amphibious ships? It's a very large ships, almost like an aircraft carrier, not in the same size, but very large, with let's say helicopters on board, attack helicopters like Apache and so on, and other UAVs and so on, and of course Marines, special units. Those units, I believe, will be assigned this mission to take control physically on the what we've seen, what we've seen around the islands and so on. Once you attack the shore and once you take control of the islands, I believe that this choking point can be taken out of the Iranian regime. Now you asked Mansour earlier, why did the US ask other states like the European states and so on, China, Japan, to come and help? First of all, let's say, for my knowledge on the US Navy, the US Navy doesn't need the help of everyone. They can do it by themselves. They have a lot of capabilities to do it, and not in so much time, by the way. They don't need the help. But why did they ask those states? I think, as President Trump said, this was an experiment, let's say, an experiment to see who is with me and who is not. And this is how we measure those states to the day after. You know, the day after, he has his own notebook. He writes, okay, this and that, and afterward he will come even with those who didn't participate. And he said, my logic is very clear. His logic, of course, is very clear. The states who are enjoying mostly the oil and the gas from the Persian Gulf should allocate to the mission. Okay, that's their mission. After all, it's for them. It's not for me. I'm the US. I don't need the oil. I have oil. I don't need it. Those states need it, so they can come and assist me in this mission. Right now, on the attack mission, I think the US Navy can handle itself, but afterward, there will be, I think, some troops have to be stationed on board of the islands and along the shores, and some ships will be have to be there, attack ships, Navy ships. And I believe that President Trump wants the European Union states, NATO, and so on, to participate in this mission on the day after taking control of the Hormuz Strait.
I see. Well, it is very interesting, the dynamics of the whole thing, because on one hand, you have the Europeans and they say, okay, we're going to wait and see where it's going, and we're not obliged to anything. And then you have the Gulf states, and now they are in a position that my enemy's enemy is my friend. And you have access of states that their interest is to spill the oil out of the Hormuz Strait. And you have Iran that its whole mission is to disrupt this thing. So do you think that we are witnessing some kind of alliance in the Gulf state that includes Israel, for that matter?
I want to believe, but for some states, I'm skeptical. I'll say why. First of all, I'm taking out of the equation the Emirates. The Emirates is, let's say, along the war, is operating with Israel in, I believe, in the war in Gaza and so on, and it's showed its very loyal position to the Israeli matter after signing an agreement with Israel. And they say along the way, this is our strategic choice. So I believe them. As for other states, like let's say Qatar, who was significantly affected by the Iranian attacks, the gas last week, for example, and so on. I still believe they are sitting on the fence, waiting to see who will take over. Which means I see them that they are very strong in words. They say a lot of things. We condemn and so on. Everything is okay. They're saying the right words. But moving on to actions, that's a little bit of a problem. And you actually can see that they are not doing what they have to do. As for right now, I believe all of the Arab states along the Persian Gulf are waiting. They're saying the right words and so on, but they are waiting. Some of the activities have begun already, I believe, to help Israel and the US, but they do it, behind the curtain. They don't want them to be seen as operating with Israel. And I believe the main reason for it is not only the Iranian regime, whether he would stay in power and whether he would stay in power or not, but the main thing that interests them is the public opinion inside their states. And the public opinion inside their states is not in favor of Israel as a whole. And I believe they want to preserve their rule over there. And that's why they're not doing anything that will be, let's say, a very decisive act with Israel and the US. So they're waiting, they're sitting on the fence, doing some things behind the curtain right now.
You said very interesting things here from the beginning, with the possibility that Donald Trump is doing this to actually test the alliance and loyalty of the states of NATO, and are proven to be right now very ineffective and probably not a very useful ally to have, because let's call it out for what this war is. We have enough intelligence, at least as far as we can tell, that Iran has been trying to build a nuclear weapon for a very, very long time. This coming from the Mossad, from the CIA, from the European spy, agencies, from the best agencies in the world. There's enough information, and it's not only coming now, because even the last presidency and before, they all dealt with that. They were all trying to stop it, knowing that Iran is fooling them. So we know that they're very close to build a nuclear bomb. We know that they want to. We saw them right now massacring their own people in the tens of thousands. We saw them right now executing women and any opposition, athletes, kids in their own country. We saw them right now shooting rockets into all the neighboring nations around them. So we see what these guys are capable to do, and their masks are completely off. We know that they are sponsors of terrorism all around the globe. We know that they are big allies of some borderline enemies of the West, at least ideology-wise and economically-wise, like Russia and China. And then comes the moment that they're about to block the Hormuz stairs, which will affect all of Europe. So, if this is blocked, this is going to create a catastrophe to all of Europe, a lot of the Western world. And in that point in time, America comes and says, Europe, NATO, come and join us. We need you. And what do? I don't know. And they're doing that, just like you said, not out of strategic, logical reasons, because strategically and logically, this is the best time to go and attack Iran and get rid of that terrible regime that is threatening to unstabilize and even bring the world into some kind of apocalyptic catastrophe if they get a nuclear weapon. So from a strategic point of view, this is the best time to join and help America and Israel, after Israel done most of the job to weaken them, and then America came right now and just mushed them. But they're choosing to make decisions that are based on popular TikTok and Instagram, reels and shorts, because they're afraid that some of their followers will not like it. And that reminds me a little bit of the time of Europe during World War II, when England was the only country basically waging war for a very long time. England was fighting for planet Earth for a very long time. Winston Churchill and heroes like him stood there and said, we will fight in the streets, we'll fight in the fields, we'll fight everywhere. That famous speech, until America came and joined, and they managed to stop Nazi Germany from conquering planet Earth. That was literally their plan. America, with the help of Russia and others, but that was more mistakes of Germany. And now we're seeing kind of a similar approach where all the countries in the world, they know what is the right thing to do, but they choose to go around and spin around. And what's going to happen once they're going to get even more and more compromised? So, that's a very good explanation what you gave us. And I really, really appreciate that in terms of that. Now, I want us to take maybe
Mansour,
a step.
Mansour, what's they say, history comes back, and it is very much coming back. But to tell you the truth, if I'm looking about it from an Israeli perspective, okay, let them continue this approach, because I know that in the day after, when the U.S. and Pete Hegseth, the Minister of War, the Secretary of War in the U.S., said it already, that the most effective ally of the U.S. is Israel, not others that was for years count as best allies, for example, Britain. And right now you can see that Israel is the most effective one, and not just an effective, not just giving information, but operating. And operating, let's say, taking the large part of it, taking responsibility and do and invest in order to achieve its goals, which in this case are joint goals with the US. So this will count for the day after. So let the European Union and other states to continue with this measure. Israel will enjoy the fruits of it, I think, after the war.
No, that's true. Israel, I think, it's the first time that America had an ally like Israel that have proven to be as effective, if not even more effective than them in that particular war. Like, America joined that war after Israel have completely disabled all their air defenses, after Israel have badly hurt them with the Mossad, with local agents on the ground and the special forces and the Air Force, completely, crushed their leadership. And even now, Israel knows so much about the regime that America is basically capable to come and join side by side with them and together pick targets, use their intelligence. We have ours, we have yours. They have such a good communication system, I feel, also the Israelis and the Americans, when it comes to sharing information real time. And there is some kind of an aspect here of a show of force to other players around the world, like China, like Russia. Because let's look at the war of Russia invading Ukraine. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the plan was 4 days. The plan, literally, that was planned. 4 days, we take it, that's it. Well, like 4 days, wala batik. We look now, it's already more than 2, 3, I don't know how many, 4, 5 years?
4 years. It's 4 years.
4 years. Like more than a million dead, 4 years. And they're not even close to actually achieving these goals. And that was considered one of the strongest armies in the world. Now, Israel and America are showing a whole different ballgame here, like Olympic level. When we want to come and take down an enemy, he disappears.
Look, and if I take it to the strategic level, what you said is mainly operative, on the operative level. If I take it to the strategic level, you can see that the US is driving to make the Middle East Pax Americana 2, Pax Americana 2. This is the main, let's say, the American hegemony, as we knew it from the past. As we said, history comes back. And the main losers from this situation is going to be Russia and China. And the US want to control this corridor between the east side of the world to the west side, to control this corridor and its energy resources and other minerals and so on. And this is the US hegemony in this region. This operative level serves the strategic level that will become after the war.
And if we're speaking about the strategical aspect of it, then I find it very interesting that the approach of both Israel and the US is to leave the infrastructure alone, meaning that they are not aiming towards a total chaos in Iran. So, as far as you know, do you think that they have an after plan about whom's gonna take over, take control? Because it's obvious that they wanna decimate the armed forces, if it's the IRGC or it's the army of Iran, but the infrastructure is still, even for the oil and the gas and the whole thing, at the Kharj island. So meaning that they want to have the economical base still sound. So, do you think they already have groups like the Kurds or whatever, whomever, to take back the control after the IRGC is gone?
First of all, let's say, from my knowledge of the US Army and the US approach as a whole, the US is very strict. It doesn't go into the warfare or something like that without the previous planning. Very accurate planning. They have to know each and every stage what they are going to do. They have logic for each stage, and they have for each stage even different scenarios that they are doing. Well, if that will occur, then they do that, and so on. So they are very strict. It's very much, let's say, it's stricter than the IDF. Okay, the IDF, we go along the way, we have the basic planning and so on. In the US, it's different. They are very strict and they know. So I think they know what are the next stages. And right now, if you can allow me to say, we are in the middle. We are in the middle of this warfare. We achieve, let's say, 50%, and we have 50% to go more. Not only military. For right now, for the first half, we see that as you asked, and you asked right, there is a preference to leave the country as it is. To leave the country as it is, it's for a scenario, a very specific scenario. And I think the scenario that drives the US is the Venezuela scenario. For you to take a country, let's say, and you get some people inside the current regime, which are not IRGC, and you take them, and the country continues with another regime. That's the idea. You don't need to take out the country for it.
There's two problems
That's
with
the main
that.
scenario. Excuse me?
I see two problems with trying to copy paste what happened in Venezuela into what happened in Iran. And I thought about it quite a lot before when I saw it in Venezuela. Venezuela is a Christian country, and the people are not the enemy of America and the West. It's only the dictatorship. So when you saw Delta Force coming down from, Chinooks or helicopters right now, rappelling down, citizens will film them, but will not do anything. Now imagine if you come down from a helicopter in Gaza. You need to worry from the civilians as much as you need to worry from Hamas, because the army is not only the Hamas with the weapons, it's also the 16 years old right now who want to shoot you, and that, women that want to throw a fridge on you from the fourth floor, and etc. And in Iran, it's, as long as it's predominantly Shia fanatic Muslim country, doesn't matter who you're going to try to install, you're going to have the people who will try to come and murder you. You will have the Persians, and you will have the former Muslims that shook off from that will probably want, but I think there's going to be quite the challenge with that. But I wanted to actually say something, and I see that Leah here also already kind of came even faster than me about this point. I literally thought about when she wrote it. I'm very concerned that Trump will pull out before the end of this game finished. I believe Israel should determine when the end occurs, and the U.S. should follow suit and provide 250 support. She's saying that as an American. I think we're witnessing for the first time a war that might be affected by social media and public influence more than strategic goals. We're seeing a war that is clearly what needs to be done. The winning side is on top of things right now, and he's crushing it, and he's pulling, goals, and he's achieving these goals, America and Israel. But we're seeing that if there's anything that might make them stop this war, there's no boots on the ground even. Except from obviously behind the shadows and shadow ops and etc. But in general, there's no Marines right now in Golani and Givati and the Rangers going. And if America pulls out, it will be solely because of the power of social media and rogue podcasters here and there and mainstream media that will pressure a country to literally abandon a winning war and pull out of it. So I think that's probably the biggest fear right now, which is mind-blowing, that we are allowing people that have no idea about politics, no idea about army, no idea about strategy, to end up influencing, like Tucker Carlson, people like that, end up influencing the effect of war. It's something new. It's new. I've never seen that before.
I'll tell you, I think you're right. I'll tell you three things about it. First of all, I think that the Iranian regime aims at public opinion. From the Iranian side, this is a war of public opinion. The energy rates and the prices of the oil and so on, this is public opinion. It drives to affect the public opinion. So they're over there. Okay, it's not a symmetric war, it's asymmetric. But let's say you asked me about the Venezuela scenario. I think it's not all the way the Venezuela scenario. It's not getting out of Chinaks and take the president at midnight. It's not just the option of getting someone inside the regime and give him the power to control alongside or in partnership with the US. That's the main idea. But as you said, this is a fanatic regime. And, we always look at the other side from a Western point of view. We doesn't calculate jihad and the Shiite and so on. And if we take the Shiite and the jihad and all of the Muqawama, the resistance, so it might take the US to other scenario, which means take the people out. And I think the protesters are waiting at home. This is the next stage. I don't think that the anger and the desire to let's say to take to confront the current regime has vanished. It just changed place for let's say on a temporary way to the houses in order to save their lives, and they are waiting for a signal to go out. And I think when they go out, it will be something else, something which will be more than we saw in January. This time, maybe with the help of armed forces from the minorities, maybe from the army, I don't know. And I think we can see something which is very different from what we saw in January. And they are just waiting for the call. Now, you ask me about public opinion. And public opinion in the US, apparently, is not so bad as it was described not so long ago. During last week, I saw Trump wants to get out. He doesn't looks good. He has the public opinion in his home, which is not in favor of the war. Okay, just look. The new data that came to us all during last weekend is the political survey. The political did a poll composed from 4,000 people, I think, the age 19 and up. Okay, we have
you need to run away, Khalifa?
No,
Khalifa.
not yet. I got an alert and it spooked
Okay.
me for a second.
It should spook you.
Just came out of nowhere. I didn't know.
Yeah, there is a launch.
It came out of Iran. That's where it came out of. It came out of Iran.
There is a launch of Iran right now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something about it in a minute, but let's say about public opinion. Political poll from the US said that the majority of MAGA people and the majority of non-MAGA people in the US, in the Republicans, are in favor of the war. I believe in MAGA, 80% end up. In the non-MAGA, among the Republicans, non-MAGA, 61%. And overall, in the whole population of the US, the war right now, Trump, let's say he has 43% support, which is relatively high. So right now, there is anything that say public opinion is let's say is a factor that he has to consider for right now, for this stage. I don't know what will be in the next week or the week after. For right now, there is no problem, and he doesn't have to get out. He just have to take care of what could affect the public opinion, which is the Hormuz Strait that we spoke about it earlier. Now, let's say something about the launches. What we just heard. I think the US and the Israel maybe have to take a look at their strategy right now and start to attack some kind of targets that will make a turmoil inside Iran. Today, the population isn't affected in Iran, almost isn't affected. Okay, it's very accurate, very chirurgic, and you do what you do against military targets. But if you take care of the banking system over there and the judgment system and all of the other things that affect, the capability of the regime to control the people, not only the Basij. The Basij is one part, but on the civilian life, everyday civilian life, I think it would take the regime to take care what is happening inside and to do less attacks against Israel and against the Arab states, because he has another arena that is just opened inside Iran. And I think this should be, let's say, the next stages in this warfare.
That's very interesting. And I think if we just to think for a second that there might be a chance that a bunch of teenagers and college students will affect political decisions in that scale of...
Hey guys, the siren started here, so I have to go.
Oh, all right, Khalifa, stay safe,
I'm going
man.
to the shelter, so
maybe you come back when we're still here. All right.
Yeah, sure.
Go. Wow, you know what? I think people in Europe don't understand that sometimes, how chilled Israelis have become, knowing that rockets and missiles, cluster munition, is flying over their head. I was in Israel in the 12-day war, and I came for a short trip for work, and I stayed there because there was no flight, so I had to run 3-4 times a night into the bomb shelter. But I have to say, I don't want to say it wrong, but it was a little bit, I don't want to use the word fun. It's not fun to be in a war, but the morale was really high. We went to the bomb shelter. There was always the same people there in the metro playing guitars. And there were a few families who would come with the cats and their children, and there were crayons on the floor. And it looked like, Israelis have built some kind of a resilience towards these things. But I want to ask you right now, how is it in Israel now compared to the 12-day war? As someone who is living in Israel, someone who is a military strategic like yourself, and also a citizen in that land, how does it look like compared to that previous war we had?
Look, first of all, we always said that during war, if you attack the people, civilian targets and so on, that the people would get along behind their regime in order to protect their countries, to defend their country. So in Israel, it's the same. We don't do it in Iran. We take people in order for not to drive them to the regime hands and to be side by side with him. but they do it in Israel, and I think in Israel, very much in comparison to the 12 war, there is a lot of justification to this war. Everyone think that this war is a very justful one, and they are expected it to get all the way in order to make, let's say, the next generation that they won't have to run to the shelters and so on. That's the very much wishful thinking of the Israelis, and they want to do, and they are willing to do a lot of it, a lot for it, to achieve it. To go to the army, to help others, to go to the shelter 3, 4 times, 5 times a night. And I'm not speaking about the northern part of Israel, where the people over there are sleeping at the shelter because they don't have enough alert time from the rocket. So everyone right now are behind, let's say, the Israeli government, and they are willing to sacrifice from themselves in order to get it done. To get it done once and for all. That's the saying in Israel, to do it once and for all, so we won't get back to this war. By the way, once and for all means Hamas and Hezbollah also. And from the beginning of the war, we spoke about public opinion, we spoke about civilians. From the beginning of war, from the 7th of October, I think that Israel should have dealt with Hezbollah and Hamas alongside with military capabilities to deal with the civilian aspect, to take the civilians out of the control of Hamas and other Muqawama, because the civilians are the energy behind those organizations. And I think we should deal with it after the war and develop, let's say, a thinking, a vision, how to deal during a war with civilians and population, which we know that they are the energy or the gas for the Muqawama to continue their doings.
Speaking of the north, now that you mentioned it, what's your thought about what's happening right now with Lebanon and Syria? I know that part of your military expertise was that you are part of the strategic planning projects, correct? For the military, for the IDF, into these regions particularly, into Hezbollah, into Lebanon and Syria. So that is, in some ways, was your sets of expertise that you studied and worked and were involved in it. So what do you think is happening right now that the people outside of Israel need to know about Lebanon, about Israel, and about what's going to look like it in the near future?
Look, I think that there is, let's say, up a year ago, I didn't think that there will be much change in Lebanon. But right now, and I'm not speaking only about Hezbollah, I'm speaking about Lebanon as a whole, there is a major change. The change of the perception, a change of how the people over there thinking. Hezbollah has come from a full legitimacy. Almost in every part of Lebanon, basically in the Shiite groups, minorities, and so on, has come from, let's say, a full legitimacy to a partial, very partial legitimacy right now. There is a lot of anger in Lebanon towards Hezbollah. This anger not only comes from the Christians and Maronites and the Druze and so on, and the Sunnis, it comes also from the Shiite, from its Shiite-based population, which is in the second time has to leave their homes, about 1 million people leaving their homes from the Dahya in Beirut and from southern Lebanon. And during this time, between those two times, Hezbollah didn't take care of them as he, let's say, he promised that he would take care of them, giving them salaries and so on, rent and so on, and will compensations and so on. And he didn't do it, and so they have a lot of anger of Hezbollah. And right now, during this time, Hezbollah entered this war, and he had a choice. It's not a war that you have been attacked and you got to it without a choice. You had a choice and you chose. You chose Iran. You chose the Iranian regime
over their own people.
On the expense of Lebanon state and their own people. So right now, I think that Hezbollah would come out of this war, and he chose. Very different than what he got into it. He has some military capabilities. We see them, and we have to take them out. We know for a fact that the Lebanese government cannot do it. Even if they want, the Lebanese army cannot do it because the Lebanese army has a long tradition of cooperation with Hezbollah and other members, and he cannot do it. He doesn't have the capabilities to do
He's
it.
very compromised.
No.
Yeah, he's very compromised also. They have a lot of Hezbollah influence in the ranks, culturally, religiously, ideology-wise. They're very compromised. Sorry,
so what we need? What we need because of this, what we need is either the IDF do the job, and I don't know if anyone wants to go inside the northern part of Lebanon to take care Hezbollah arms in the Bekaa and so on, or there needs to be a new Lebanese army, something new, something which hasn't been done before. With the help of the US, maybe Saudi Arabia, I don't know, something else that should come, that should grow over there, and it will take care of the things. Another point that I have to emphasize: we have to be very careful regarding France. France is trying to be involved in what's happening in Lebanon, and as I see it, it's some kind of tryout to prolong the French mandate from the Sykes-Picot Accord and so on. The British are no longer here, but the French are still here, and I think the French is part of the problem in Lebanon. They derived Lebanon to a failed state situation, trying to take care only for the French interests on the expense of Israel and the Lebanese state. And I think right now they should be out of the game in Lebanon. Let's say finish the mandate years as a whole, the British as well as the French in the area.
That is very interesting what you said here about the Lebanese army and about Hezbollah and about France. I mean, yes, I do feel that France have not been a healthy or helpful effect in the Middle East. I mean, let's call it what it is. They've been advocating and standing up for Lebanon for so long. But what was Lebanon for the last 20 years? Lebanon for the last 20 years was hijacked by Iran and by Hezbollah. Lebanon was, like Gaza, was a country kidnapped by a bunch of terrorists who held their own people hostage and used everything they can. And I would even add to what you said, not only that they chose to attack Israel right now and risk the destruction of Lebanon on the expense of their own people to support Iran, but also when Israel was attacking Hezbollah with the pagers and with the airstrikes and the special forces that went inside, one of the biggest complaints that Hezbollah had is that Iran did not step in to save them. When Israel completely, like that was the first blow that Hezbollah took down Nasrallah and, bombed, his bunker in Beirut, did crazy stuff that we never heard of, which in the eyes of Hezbollah, this was like the doomsday scenario. Israel is like the house owner is mad and he's just going full on us right now. Liam Neeson on them. And Iran didn't stand for them. Now, you'd think that Hezbollah after that will come and say, you know what? Iran is not having our back. They didn't stand for us when we needed them. So we're not going to go and help them. But then still now they're going and willing to risk, the destruction of... There is talks about Israel going until the Litani right now and taking it back. What's your thought about that? Should Israel do that?
Look, I tell you even more. As a whole, I think that one of the main lessons that we learned from the 7th of October is that the IDF has to be the wall between the other side to the Israeli citizens. That's for sure. If we need for it to do, a perimeter and to hold territory on the other side, so be it. So be it. And right now, when I'm speaking about southern Lebanon, I have two main points, very interesting points to address. To first of all, I don't know if you know, but southern Lebanon, although it's a Lebanese territory, and there is no discussion about it, it's a Lebanese territory, but in the Turkish Kushans and so on, this southern Lebanon was a territory that was, let's say, southern Lebanon was a territory of Israeli agricultures, and they dealt with the land, okay, all the way up to the Litani, and it's written on the Turkish Kushans from the past. First of all, the second thing. I think that if you take care of what we need to do today in order to preserve, to defend our citizens, is to stand on the Litani, which is easy to defend, relatively easy to defend, more than the previous perimeter that we had to deal with in Lebanon 20 years ago. And all the way on the Litani, this is an enough perimeter for other ground forces of Hezbollah not to enter this area. By the way, I think that if you want to take care of this area once and for all, it shouldn't be, let's say, after the war, it should be stationed with people who are not Shiites, basically. Because the Shiites, as we all know, they're coming from the Mukawama, they're coming from the resistance. They have to make sacrifices and so on. And the enemy is one and very decisive, and who is not with us is our enemy. This perception of life as a whole is very dangerous, and it can drive this area again to to military groups and other groups in the way. So we need them, I think, and maybe some of the Christians that should come and sit over there, and or Sunnites or something else that will be held in this area in order to maintain a pretty long solution to the problem.
I agree. I think we should hold it, and there's no government right now in Lebanon to give it back to. If there was a partner that we can trust, there's a different story. Last time we went there, we did not put a single settlement there, and we made it very clear that we're just here to do a military operation. And right now, with the same thing, Israel is focused on the military defense security operations there, and Lebanon is far from being able to ensure. And I think I've said that before, in the Middle East, you need to speak two languages, power and respect. And they both come together. Respect never comes without power. When you show power, you get respect. And Israel has been showing very serious level of power right now in the Middle East. And all of a sudden, you have Lebanon coming, hey, we want to talk about peace. We have Syria right now coming and talking. And everybody's around us, all of a sudden willing to negotiate and talk and even make sacrifices. And also, they're starting to realize that we're not bluffing. Gloves are off.
Yeah, I tell you something about it. First of all, I think you're right. We need respect, and for respect that is shown by force or achieved by force. That's the first thing in the Middle East. But right now, when the Lebanese government saying they want to talk, look, I have the liberty to believe them. I believe them. That's okay. They have the right intentions. I'm sure that they are this specific government has the right intentions, but they have no capability to do it right now. So I think we should go two ways. First of all, the military way, which we are going into, and the other end is to go side by side with the US, not France, the US and the Lebanese government to, let's say, to compose another Lebanon which is not a failed state. This is a process. I don't have any argument with the Lebanese citizens and otherwise. I don't have any argument. I think that they can do. I think one of the first states that can be entered into the Abraham Accords and make normalization with Israel is Lebanon. The problem is Hezbollah and the Shiite population over there, which is the base of Hezbollah. That's the problem. Now you have to deal with the problem with, let's say, with an open mind. And I think that once they're saying about the negotiation, as of course, we are not going into negotiations right now. What we can write down the conditions that we want. We can work with it with the US and with maybe Saudi money and so on. And right now, by dealing with it, you can even take Turkey out of the equation, which is very important. Now, you want to preserve Lebanon by your side because it's on your border. You want to preserve Lebanon as a context to Syria, to what's happening in Syria. So that's why you have to work in both lines, parallel lines, military one and the political one. You don't have to sign anything. You just have to talk and to write down your conditions into it. And I think this way, going both ways, will after the war, after the Iranian regime will collapse, we will see a lot of progress in it.
Khalifa, welcome back from the bomb shelter. You survived. You're alive.
Yeah, I'm safe and sound. Thank you. And I'm sorry to bring the bad news, but we had direct impact in Arad, very hard scene. It seems like Kharm Shahr missile hit Arad, and it has 1 ton of an explosive head. So it's a massive impact, massive, like a very bad news. I'm afraid. So I'm sorry to bring that to the discussion, but I want to point that we had a ceasefire with Lebanon, with Hezbollah, basically, but we never ceased the fire. We hit and killed more than 500 or 600 of Hezbollah officials, which, by the way, I think it's the best ratio of hitting any terrorist group in the world in history of all warfare, meaning that almost no civilians died during this period. And the thing is, although we were still like kicking their ass, they still have capabilities. They still can fire missiles at us. They still have the jihad, the stamina. Do you think, being from the intelligence forces, do you think that we are surprised in any way about how long they are gonna keep fighting? Because we hit basically all the ranking officers, from Nasrallah to the Pagers to the Radwan, and they keep fighting.
Khalifa, sorry to cut in, but just maybe to say a short word about this, because these kind of questions piss me off a little bit, and not because of you, but just because it makes it look as if the enemy is stronger than what it is. Hamas is still trying to launch rocket into Israel, even though it got completely obliterated and defeated. And Iran is the head of the snake, and they taught Hamas these things. They taught Hezbollah. This is a death cult. And what it means by death cult is, as long as there's one of them breathing there with broken teeth, he will come out of the rebels, Allahu Akbar, and he will make a V. And if he will see a mortar, he will crawl to that mortar, press the button, and die, and launch it, and then ignite another war. He doesn't think 5 minutes ahead. He doesn't think that by doing that, America and Israel, big country, is going to come and literally flatten his village. He doesn't think he's going to destroy his country. He doesn't think that him and 1,000 of his friends are going to die a terrible death of suffocation underground because they will bomb them or poison them. He doesn't think through that. So the same thing we're thinking right now there is, as long as there's part of these death cults they're from these radical fanatic Shias, they're religious extremists, then yes, they will keep launching. I think we just need to take away that capability. It's like dealing with zombies. Seriously, the only way to deal with zombies is to put them in a fence and farm them and keep them away, because as long as they're around, they're gonna come as zombies, try to come and bite you. You can't have them around you. So these guys, you just need to make sure they have no weapons and far away. And if they have weapons, it's mostly kinetic weapons that are like rocks and bow and arrows, and they will shoot it at one another. Trust me, if you will cage them in a place in the desert and stay away and build big walls, they will just keep fighting with one another until they. That's what they do. Sorry,
I think, Mansour, I think you're very right. We have a last example not so long ago. About the Hamas members who were in the tunnel in Rafah, isolated from their home base in Gaza City. The IDF is on top of them on ground. They are underground. They don't have a lot of food left, and still they didn't went out and put on a white flag and didn't wave a white flag. It's not going to happen. Two words that we can say about this Mukawama people is sabr and sumud. This is the idea. You have to stay
that's
on your feet
yeah,
as long as you can, and the Iranian regime is the same. They are the teachers. They are the teachers of Hezbollah. They are the teachers of Hamas, and it will be the same. So either you get and take out everything you can, but again, it's not only military speaking. As I'm saying from the start of this chapter and so on, of this broadcast, you have to take the civilian aspect as well. The one thing which is, let's say, the point that you can hurt those people is to take the civilians, because the civilians are the main energy point for them, for money, for shelters, for hiding inside among the civilians in order to shoot, in order to do those activities, to hire new people, to recruit new people, and so on. And the civilian system alongside people who are going as terrorists at night, in the morning working as teachers in school. Okay, so you have to understand this is how they work. So if you work only on the military side, targets, ammunition, factories, industries, missiles, okay, that's okay, we need it. But alongside with it, you have to take the civilian aspect. If we have done this with Hamas from the beginning. Today we were after Gaza, after the war in Gaza finished already, and again with Hezbollah. On the previous chapter with Hezbollah, until the ceasefire, I suggested the government, at least that's what I wrote, that they should do in the conditions for the ceasefire some demands from the government, from the Lebanese government, to deal with the banks of Hezbollah, to take people of Hezbollah out of the teachers' organization in southern Lebanon, for example, to deal with the Hezbollah gas stations, El Mana, in Lebanon, and so on. So these demands, I think, are very, very, very accurate in what, and very effective on the other side, because we don't expect him to go and wave the white flag. We do expect him to be affected by his own public opinion, and his own public opinion is what matters. And this is what we spoke about Lebanon. This is the main change today.
True. Sorry, guys. Khalifa, I'm gonna jump right now and share screen of the Ynet of what happened here in Arad, because you came back and you basically told us what you told us, and it seems like it's something very big that just hit Arad, and I think it's worthy that we let our viewers understand. This is Ynet. This is an Israeli newspaper. I put the Google Translate on English so you can read it, so it might not be the most accurate, but let's just read it through. 40 injured in a direct hit in Arad. Some are missing. An Iranian missile with a heavy warhead directly hit Arad. As per Khalifa, he said about 1 ton of explosives. If that's the case, that's a lot. That's 1,000 kilograms of explosives, guys. Causing extensive damage to buildings, and helicopters were scrambled to a height. Helicopters were scrambled? What does that mean?
Mansour, do we have some pictures from the scene?
Yeah. So no helicopters, guys. There was children. 51 injured. Some of them are kids. Very, very badly injured in a direct hit in Dimona. Over there, the missile was, the Iron Dome or whatever was flying and it missed it. Iran is taking responsibility over this attack, and they're saying, the chief staff, we will fight even on Passover. We are halfway there. Okay, it's English and Hebrew is Ramatkal said the chief commander will fight even during Passover. So here we can see some of the videos. Yeah, that looks like the explosion right there. And I'm sure we're going to start seeing more and more. For those who don't know, Arad is located in the southern part of Israel. And yeah, people in Arad, in these areas, are not used to these kind of
Massive scene. There's a serious event over there, unfortunately.
I think this is going to change a lot. This, with the Strait of Hormuz and with this, it's going to create quite a pressure from the Israeli government to respond even stronger. So a kid was injured in Dimona, apparently as well. That's what we know. Anything else that you guys know about this? I mean, this is coming live.
I think... sorry, you wanted to say something, Amit? Sorry.
I think still I haven't got most of the details right now, and I have to, once the broadcast will over, I will go and collect all the details. But just to remind you what we spoke about earlier, the Iranian regime is conducting a public opinion warfare. This is the aim of it. They use military means in order to get the public opinion to pressure the US and Israel to end the war. That's the main thing. And this is part of it. And of course, there have to be consequences to what happened. But I think we should look at it tomorrow morning in a most peaceful way, and don't do any mistakes along the way, because there is a plan for this war. It worked by stages that were created alongside with the U.S. Army and the President Trump. And I think we should stick to the plan in order to achieve our objectives. We have done 50% of the way. We have 50% more. Some of it with the Iranian people. As I said before, I think we should press more on the let's say on the routine times system inside Iran that would pressure that would drive the public opinion inside Iran to pressure the government once again. For example, let's say the banking system. For example, everyday life. This is the main thing that Israel and the US should focus right now in order to answer these cases, for example.
You know, I had to ask you something. Well, events like this, unfortunately, are from from previous experience, we're gonna see that this event is probably massive. I don't know how it's gonna change the image, but as someone of our viewers said that the warhead was so massive that it didn't even hit the building itself. It hit nearby, and still the damage is so colossal. So, adding to that, the Lebanese scene and what we are seeing, the huge effort or pressure that the Israeli government is pushing towards Lebanon. And I hear a lot of Lebanese saying, "Yeah, we're gonna be back soon, or it's only temporary," and that reminds me of the Palestinian so-called Nakba. Do you think now that the Shia in Lebanon are experiencing Nakba? Because the way I see it, they're never gonna come back to south of the Litani. Correct me if I'm wrong, or you see it otherwise.
I think they shouldn't go back to the southern of Lebanon. I explained it earlier about the Mukawama, the perception, the perception of life against the enemy. And once they go back, it would be a Mukawama all over again in, let's say, between 4 to 5 years. We've seen it in the past. So I think it's not quite a Nakba because they have the Lebanese state. The Lebanese state is the Shiite state as a whole. They have a lot of companies over there, a lot of groups that were, let's say, driven by to live together, but the Sykes-Picot Accord. The Sykes-Picot Accord was an artificial agreement of two people who said, okay, we need this and that territory for Britain, and we need the same size territory for France. They didn't took any calculation about what's inside the area, which are the groups, can they get along with one another, and so on. And we see the consequences right now. If they were alive, I would bring Sykes and Picot by head and take them to see what's the consequences of what they have done in the beginning of the 20th century. I'm sure they were meaning for good, but the road to hell is composed of many good intentions.
Page of good intentions, yeah.
Yeah. So right now, I believe it's either the Shiites will be allocated elsewhere inside Lebanon in a different composition, or let's say the deletion of the Sykes-Picot Accords and starting dividing the borders otherwise in the Middle East. For example, Kurdistan. For example, Syria. Syria right now is not. There isn't any state that's called Syria right now. There isn't any national identity Syrian. There are the Alawites, there are the Kurdish, there are the Druze, and there is in the middle, let's say, the city of Damascus and the area. That's basically Syria today. So you ask me whether we need to think again about Sykes-Picot. Maybe we do. I don't know if Israel and the US would like to go this way, but
Absolutely.
in order for us not to see the Mukawama again, I think there should be, let's say, a different distribution of the population inside those states. Let's say, let's leave it right now, unless we have to deal with the borders as well.
Stop treating transfer as a boogeyman and start discussing it seriously.
It's not a transfer. It's a different distribution inside the
population
state.
Population exchange. A lot of Druze would love to go to south of Syria. I see it that it's the logical thing to have this massive Druze Christian state all the way from south of Lebanon to the south of Syria and be like, like a province related or affiliated with Israel, and that will be a great solution for a lot of our problems in the north.
Listen,
exactly.
what they did after World War II was a failing social experiment where they shuffled the Middle East and they said, okay, let's give the Muslims here, the Jews here, let's give minorities just to live among the Muslims. It was failing. They should do a restart for this whole server called the Middle East. Plug the button, plug it back in, do a save, first of all, for Israel, for the Druze, for the Christians, the ones that are doing good and are not trying to genocide and kill everyone around them. Do a safe setting, then restart, shuffle it all, and divide it again in a way that makes sense, because the people who divided it back then had no clue and did a terrible mistake. And look what's happening right now. Every place in the Middle East, because what?
Because they didn't see it as we give this to the Muslims and this for the Jews and so on. They see we give this to Britain and this to France. That was the thinking. And
Exactly.
okay, once they got to it, so Britain got this territory. Now it started to deal with the territory. Let's see how we can deal with the groups inside it. The logic was a failure, and that's what we are feeling right now on every day, let's say.
Exactly. No, I think you said it perfectly. They looked at it wrong. They divided it terribly wrong. And now they need to shuffle it all over and start all over the game and just divide it in a way that, here's the thing, if you want to have stability and peace in the Middle East, keep the Muslims away from the non-Muslims. You will have immediately, the Middle East will become Europe. The Druze, the Christians, the Jews, the atheists, the LGBTQ, and the vegans are not trying to kill one another. They're not. Only one that is trying to kill others, subject them, enslave them, rob them from their wealth, and take their children away are the Muslims. So divided.
Are the extremists inside the Muslims?
Of course, it's not all the Muslims. Yeah. No, it's needless to say, it's not all the Muslims. But in the end of the day, I'm sorry, but they should take care of their own self. The Muslims should come and do a house clean and choose. Do we want to go with extremists? Do we want to separate? We should not come and try to fix that, because it's too difficult for us. For us, it's too difficult right now to go inside a Muslim country and see, okay, who is not. They need to do it. Us, I'm talking right now, Jews, Christians, and other minorities need to stick together. And if they will allow the Middle East to create that island inside, you will have an amazing, crazy Middle East. But I think, we're coming close to the end, and I wanted to ask you a crazy question that I just saw right now as someone who came from the Navy, and I just saw, while looking at the media, there's reports that Iran have midget submarines. Have you ever heard of the midget submarines?
Yeah. Midget submarines. Midget submarines is a tool for special forces mainly to move underwater in a very secret manner in order to go and attack targets at sea, ships, and so on. You can do it, by the way, by missiles, by UAVs, and so on. You don't have to have manned vehicle like midget submarines. But again, this is one of the way that navies, one of the capabilities the navies have around the world. It's not something which is very secret or very unique. You have them. I wonder about the quality of all the naval products of the Iranian Navy, which were not so much, let's say, were proven during this war as very effective. But again, this is one of the means they have. Yes.
Yeah. It looks here like one of the things that they will do is they will go and drop, mines, and
Look, by the way, mines is a very problematic issue, because mines, once you get them inside the water, it hurts without distinction, which means you cannot turn off the mine because an Iranian ship is going by, or let's say an Indian ship or someone that you like. You cannot turn it off. it hurts everyone in the same manner. So you have to be very accurate in what you do with mines, because you can't distinct one target to another with mines. So once before you use it, you have to think very hard whether you want to use it.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Well, Khalifa, is there anything you would like to maybe conclude this episode, coming close to the end right now? I want to thank all the viewers, by the way, who coming and join us, and I
Thank
want
you
to
all.
thank our dear guest here also, Lieutenant Colonel in reserves Amit Yagur, who have brought a lot of insight and experience into the table. I know that the viewers here, the comments were very positive. People were really happy to hear what you said and educated by it. By the way, if people want to follow you, are you active on social media? Do you have a platform that you'd like us here to promote? Uh,
Yeah, it's my name in X, Twitter mainly.
so it is
X,
Amit Yagur in
X
X.
X and LinkedIn.
Amit Yagur, right?
Yeah,
So people will have to one word or with a space between them.
one word.
All right. So whoever want to go and follow this gentleman over here, that's how it is, right? Did I write it right?
Yeah.
Amit Yagur, go and check him up on X and on LinkedIn. Um, Khalifa, do you want to close the show as someone who was just running right now to a bomb shelter under missiles?
I just want to say that I really enjoyed the parts that I heard. So it was a very interesting conversation. So I wanted to thank our dear guest for the insights that he brought and his insightful ideas. And I just want to say, like, I'm a bit shocked about the event in Arad, so I'm really uh, anxious about what's happening over there and how bad is it. And I prayed for the safety of all the people, and please, people in Israel, please follow the instructions and don't. Don't take it lightly, and just want to say that Ginger here is feeling safe and we are all happy, and thank you all. It was a great show. Thanks.
Thank you. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. The pleasure was ours. Guys,
Thank
stay
you.
safe. Don't do anything stupid in general. Don't do anything that I would do. See you